Hello, it's Chaplain 73 here. I'm here today to do another interview for my channel. I'm here with Sharon and Jason, otherwise known as Quiet British Accent. Hello.
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 And I will just crack on with the first question. Could you tell people who you are, what you do, and where you're based?
Well, I'm Sharon.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm Jason. Cracking start.
And we are Quite British Accent.
Yeah, and we're based in Westwood Ho in North Devon. We moved here a year ago from the outskirts of the M25.
Mm-hmm.
And we paint on pre-decimal pennies. We paint slogans and words on pre-decimal pennies and we put them out on the street, sometimes for people to find.
And sometimes they just get ignored.
Why pre-decimal pennies?
There's this aspect of history with them. Who's had this in their hand? You know, you got a Victorian penny in your hand, and it's got a little mark in it, or someone scratched their name in it sometimes, and things like that. And you think, oh, it's just like a lovely sense of history. And they're a bit bigger, so you can get more words on them.
And we're interested in like value and change and topics associated around value and worth.
I think we're intrigued by the value of art because we came. I might be jumping ahead here a little bit, but we came to art a little bit late. We're trained as designers, so making that transition to artists was sort of fascinated. You just want to ask everyone, how do you earn money out of this? How does it work? How do you price a piece of art? And it's a fascinating question to us, anyway.
It's all very subjective, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been doing it for free, as well as selling it.
Yeah. I mean, you also sort of like do prints and stuff of the pennies, don't you? Not just actually on the pennies. We've done quite a variety of media, really, probably, isn't it? Fabric, silk, paper, resin. What's that clay stuff?
Plaster of Paris.
Yeah.
So we've created some molds, and we're able to cast larger pre-decimal pennies. So we've made them in a larger size, and that's like a recent project that we've been working on.
Yeah, fab. And obviously, you know, I've interviewed, my last interview that I did was with a money artist who paints on dollar notes, but to actually paint on the coins is quite different, quite unique, really.
It's we tried we started with pens and bad paint and bad brushes, and it took a while to work out what actually worked, to be honest, didn't it?
Yeah. So we use enamel paint, but there are instances where we'll need to prime areas of the penny to receive the paint, especially with red, and it just it lifts the red that we use on the pennies.
It's an enamel sign writing paint, so it's like a sign writing technique, I suppose. That's what we realized works. That's what writing is designed for. The brushes are nice. They use a long brush rather than a short brush like we were to begin with, and we learned the hard way what works.
Because you managed to fit quite a few words onto a penny, which I'm always impressed with.
Sometimes.
We do wear glasses and use a magnifying glass as well, just to aid seeing all the letters and what we're writing on it.
Otherwise you photograph and you think, oh no, look what we've done.
And I know you've done quite a lot on the play of the QBA.
We did to begin with. I think that's leaving our mark in the most gentlest way possible, as street artists often do, leaving not classing us as a street artist really, but sort of with one toe in the street art world. We, for about 5 or 6 years, painted
Monarch's head,
bad acronyms of the QBNA, such as, give me an example.
Quick beer, anyone?
Okay.
Quite bloody angry.
Things like that. That one was popular, and left them around, and I suppose people grew to know who that was that had left it there, and someone left one for us with an acronym etched onto a 2p piece once. Well, I say for us, may not have been for us, but we found it anyway, which is bizarre.
I was actually quite impressed at how many acronyms you managed, how many sentences you managed to get out of QBA.
There was hundreds we didn't use, trust me, hundreds.
So moving on from that, I mean, you've already touched on the fact that you were working in design. So who or what influenced you to start, painting on pennies and doing the QBA stuff?
Right. Well, I guess the story is obviously we met, we worked together, and the kids came along, and we sort of worked in our respective fields, and we just decided at some point we wanted to work together as a couple, putting our ideas together. And so there was this, we needed to put a date in the diary effectively. When our youngest daughter was going to start secondary school, we decided, well, she'll have a key to the door, and that would be the time that we'd do it. So we actually started working together when she went to secondary school, and that was back in...
So she was our inspiration.
She was our inspiration to actually start working together, and that would have been back in 2011. So...
We just dived in, really.
Yeah.
We had a massive influences, I guess, and two sets of influences, because obviously what influenced you might not influence me sometimes. And it took a while to sort of gel, I guess, didn't it? The two sets of thoughts.
And find out kind of who we were as an artist couple, and going forwards, we started off doing artwork that had a bit of football fan culture behind it before we got to the pennies, and it was only a few years in that we came to the painting on pennies, and it sort of came about because we started painting on round things, and I had acquired these really lovely wooden discs, about sort of such size like that, and we started painting on them. And then we just thought, well, what other round things can we paint on? And we decided we wouldn't do records. We knew artists that were doing that already. And then you had a penny, didn't you? That had been one penny that had been blue tacked to your Mac for a long time,
just staring at us. A pre-decimal penny, and he was just staring at us for years and years and years, and eventually, and I can't remember. I don't think you can how we came to pick it off and paint on it, but at some point it happened, and we thought,
once we thought, we could paint. I don't know.
I have a love of ephemeral rubbish, and I know that comes into it, because old worn pennies that are sometimes just worth their metal value fit in that description a little bit. I collect all manner of crap, don't I? So from stickers when I was a kid, and sweet wrappers, and just things that would visually excite, and words were always in it. It wasn't so much about images. With me, you're a bit more image literate than I am, and it just sort of, I suppose my interest that I'm speaking personally, I guess, if I can, it sort of went from that sort of ephemeral nonsense into discovering Peter Blake and realizing that he loved that sort of stuff as well, and 60s pop art, and then through to text artists such as Barbara Kruger, and up to modern day with Bob and Roberta, and lots of text artists, and along the way discovering Sister Carita Kent, and her protest work with this wonderful lettering style, and that sort of homespun edge to it, which protest graphics often have. That really excited both of us a little bit. Love letters that aren't quite right, love it. And that's where signwriting came into it a little bit, because proper signwriters, they draw it themselves, so they're not quite perfect, run out of space a little bit towards the end, things get a bit cramped. I love it.
It's a little bit wonky, isn't it?
So we are indeed a little bit wonky. That sums us up, really. We put that on the business card.
Yeah, we should do, really.
So quite literally the penny dropped, eh?
Somehow.
It's great listening to you, because obviously my art, I do a lot of words in, I use my Marx Brothers characters and I put words next to them, and my influences are people like Jenny Holzer and Barbara Kruger and people like that who use a lot of words in there. You know, they are very word-based art, and those were the artists that I was looking at the work of and thinking, well, yeah, I want to say something, but I want to literally say something. I want to put words on my art so that people know exactly what I'm trying to say, rather than interpreting the image, you know. And because a lot of, you know, art is very much how somebody interprets the image of what's happening. You know, you look at, you know, sort of like pre-Raphaelite art and the classic art, people interpret that in very different ways, but I literally wanted to say something with my art, the words, and you know, and I see a lot of other artists, you know, street artists and graffiti artists, and people use words, use font, use, you know, use that to get their message across, which is great. But I love your work. I've always found it very playful and very, you know, it does speak to you, literally.
Thank you.
So what advice would you give to somebody who wanted to start out being creative, start being an artist or doing art or creating art, putting it out there in the world?
Well, I think that what we found is that you want to have a little designated area that you can create at. There's nothing more frustrating than having to get your stuff out and actually then having to put it all away. And I'd appreciate that not many people can have a studio, but if there's a little corner of a bedroom or a lounge, just a small desk space that you can allocate for your creativity, and you've got your pens and some postcards, some inspiration, some of your favorite books, I think that it would really help somebody concentrate and get into the flow of creating something. So a little designated area doesn't have to be big, but you're just surrounded by some of your favorite things that will inspire you.
We were used to working from the kitchen table for many years. There's nothing wrong with a kitchen table. We're lucky now we have a shed. But that's only in the last year.
Yeah, I find that I'm very blessed by having a large shed in my garden that I can just go to and paint, and the stuff's there already. You know,
absolutely.
You haven't got to drag it all out and put it all away at the end.
One of the key things from one of the key things from my point of view when it comes to work, and I'm obviously speaking to myself here, is to just keep doing it, really. Because as artists, you know, there's all kinds of knockbacks. Everything gets thrown at you. You just got to keep doing it. You'll get somewhere eventually. Who knows where? But you know, we're not there, but we're still going somewhere.
Well, I think that as long as the ideas are there and the creativity is there, then it continues being fun, doesn't it? So.
Oh yeah. It has got to be fun. Otherwise, why would you want to be
some days it's hard bloody work.
Well, it is hard work.
Is it just me?
No, some days it can be hard, especially when, you know, like recently I've been doing some research for a project, and it was like really heavy going sort of research, and 3 days in I still hadn't found kind of what I was really looking for, something meaty that I could base this next artwork around. And so I was getting a little bit like harumphy and thinking, it's not happening, nothing's happening up here. But do you know what? I gave it another 24 hours and it just clicked, and I kind of knew then what I had to do. You just got to stick with it, and it will happen. And it's got to be fun. So you just got to stick with those slightly more difficult times to reap the rewards later.
Got to battle with it.
Consistency and perseverance, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to get up and do it. Yeah, set your alarm, get up and do it.
As there are two of you today, I'm going to ask you both this question separately. So first off, Sharon, you can spend 24 hours with a famous artist. You can go back in time. You've got a time machine. You can do what you want. It can be either somebody living or somebody who lived 400 years ago. But you can spend 24 hours with this person. Who is it going to be, and what are you going to do for 24 hours?
Okay, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. Although there were lots of people I would very much like to spend time with, but I thought David Bowie.
Yeah.
I would just back him, you know, Berlin, I would just love for him to just say, this is my favourite park and this is my favourite cafe. Just go out,
drink milk with him.
Oh,
he drank a lot of milk.
I love a cup of tea. That's all right. And just have a bit of cafe culture, sitting outside, just talking about music, art, fashion, culture, whatever, and pass the time of day. Maybe in the evening, go and see something, go see a band or whatever. I just think that would be quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely a very interesting character. And Jason, same question for you.
Yeah, well, I didn't know Sharon was going to say that. I'm not going to say the same, but I'm not going to choose a visual artist either. I'm again a singer. But 24 hours. You said 24 hours.
24 hours.
Sure. I'm not sure I could take 24 hours.
So somebody did ask me if they could have an hour with. Somebody did ask me if they could have an hour with 24 people during that.
Yeah.
I think that would
be good.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, that's almost like inventing a new reality TV show. Who can tolerate 24 hours with an artist? Yeah, I don't know about that. So I would, if I can, limit it to an evening down the pub with the late Marky Smith, because I just find him quite inspiring. His work, his humour, his ability to endlessly shake everything up and not slip into any rut ever. He would just always pull the plug and do something completely different. He wouldn't let anyone else be complacent around him. And that's unusual. And he had a good sense of humour, and he liked to pint. But yeah, all day. He'd still be drinking all day. I'd be under the table. So
yeah, but that is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody else said Francis Bacon, and yeah, I think that would be very similar.
Yeah, I expect so,
could get messy.
Yeah,
you might have to leave early. It is quite interesting though, as you say, that you've both chosen musical artists, because I think music has such an influence on what we do and where we go.
It does, and lyrics, obviously. They have a direct route through to your brain, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Subconsciously sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. So final question, what's in store for the future? Have you got anything you're currently working on, or exhibition coming up, or any body of work coming up that you'd like to share with us at the moment?
Well, we've just done some workshops with the Burton at Bideford and Studio Kind here in the West Country, and we've got
got one left,
we've got one more to do. So it's been really good working with those galleries, and so there may be stuff next year, but we are currently working on a site-specific artwork at the moment, and that's for the prison residencies at Shepton Mallet Prison, and it's curated by Luminara Forescu and Amanda Lynch, and that's taking place on the 18th of September to the 3rd of October. So we will be there on Saturday the 2nd of October. We'll actually be at Shepton Mallet Prison.
Half of us will.
The
prison is the female wing of the prison. So Sharon will be resident.
I will be resident there, yes. And we're looking at the historical timeline of women's incarceration. So the artworks obviously revolve around that particular subject in C Wing at Shepton Mallet Prison. So that's what we're working on at the moment.
There's a possibility of a show next year.
Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And other than that, we'll be continuing to drop pennies both on streets and also online as NFTs now. We've started doing digital non-fungible token. It kind of appealed to us because it's, the idea of a Victorian penny being a digital cryptocurrency just it's put a smile on our face. Yeah,
definitely. That contrast of old and new, it's fabulous. NFT is the way forward, apparently.
Forwards, backwards, who knows?
Yeah, I don't understand NFTs, so I haven't really got into it. I know a lot of artists are creating NFTs. So.
It's fascinating. I think it's going to open up a whole new world, literally.
Yeah,
to a lot of people, not just visual artists.
But it has actually. Well, I was going to say, for a lot of artists, it's been a lifeline. During the pandemic, where they've not been able to perhaps go out and sell work through the traditional methods. So, and for illustrators as well, and people creating this artwork, musicians,
film writers, and it's there's all kinds of avenues it could go in, and it doesn't have to be energy hungry as well. There are alternatives. Yeah,
I think that was one of the concerns when it began, was the environmental impact of it. I think that's been addressed, hasn't
it? In some quarters.
Yeah. But I think, in my lifetime, things have changed massively from, when we used to collect vinyl and cassettes and then CDs, and now it's downloads for music. It's kind of it's quite nice that the art world has kept up with that, and has recognised that there's a market.
I've just dug out a whole box of cassettes. You mean they're no good anymore?
I've got loads of vinyl behind me in my.
I thought they were coming back into fashion cassettes, but I don't know.
I quite understand that one. Vinyl I get, but cassettes.
Cassettes, I always used to find that my cassette player always used to chew them up, which was just, and then they're ruined, aren't they?
I tried playing one the other day. It was just slightly off speed, and you just think, that's really irritating.
Yeah, it didn't seem irritating at the time because it was the only thing that was there, wasn't it? So, Okay, well, it's been lovely talking to you both. It's been great getting to hear about what you're about, and a bit more about Quiet British Accent, which is always good. And thank you for spending some time with me this evening.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
No worries. And if you like what you've seen today and what you've heard today, please hit the subscribe button below and subscribe to my channel. There will be lots more interviews coming your way. Thank you very much.